We are in the middle of an explosion. Right now, artificial intelligence is just everywhere. It's changing science, it's changing the devices in our pockets, and it's changing our world at a pace that is, frankly, dizzying. But this isn't just a story about cool new tools. It's also a moment of reckoning. And to really get a handle on the scale of this, you just have to look at what's happened this year alone. Get this. In just 2024, research related to AI was recognized with not one, but two Nobel Prizes. Two.
And we're not talking about some obscure awards either. The Nobel in chemistry, that's for work like Google DeepMind's AlphaFold, which is completely revolutionizing how we develop medicines by predicting how proteins fold. And the physics prize went to Geoffrey Hinton and John Hopfield for their foundational work on neural networks. You know, the very engine that powers almost all of the AI we're talking about today.
And all that brainpower isn't just stuck in a lab. It's getting incredibly practical. For instance, a company called Anthropic has built an AI agent that can literally use a computer like a person does. We're talking moving the mouse, clicking, typing, finishing complex jobs for you. What felt like total science fiction just a few years ago is now actually happening. This huge leap forward feels like it came out of nowhere, right? But its roots, they go back decades. And to really understand where all this is headed, we have to go back and figure out what were the people who started all this even trying to build in the first place. So let's start with that big, fundamental question that's been driving this field from the very beginning. What are we actually trying to build when we say artificial intelligence? Well, it turns out the answer completely depends on who you ask. You see, the early pioneers kind of split into four different camps. On one side, you had people trying to build machines that think like humans, with all our creativity, our intuition, our weird quirks. Then you had another group that wanted machines to think perfectly rationally, like a flawless logician. And that same split happened with acting. Should a machine act like a person, or should it act with perfect calculated rationality? This debate really shaped the entire history of AI. Okay, so once you have a goal, how do you even know if you're making progress? How do you measure it? This is where the story gets really interesting, because we went from a simple test to an all-out race. Back in 1950, Alan Turing came up with this really simple, elegant idea. Can a machine have a text conversation with a person and fool them into thinking it's also a person? The goal wasn't about solving crazy math problems. It was about being, well, human-like. Now, fast forward to today, and it is a completely different ballgame. We use benchmarks. These are super standardized tests that measure AI on really specific tasks, like how well can it classify an image, or translate a sentence, or answer a specific question. It's less about fooling a person and way more about acing a really, really hard exam. And this slide just says it all, doesn't it? On the left, you have Turing's simple conversational test. On the right, that's a modern benchmark for language models called MTB. It has 8 different types of tasks and 58 separate datasets. We've literally gone from a philosophical question to an industrial-scale competition.
All right, so what has this new era of intense, benchmark-driven competition actually produced? Let's take a quick spin through what today's AI can really do.
I mean, today's language models are just staggering. They can tackle questions from a benchmark called GPQA, questions so hard they stump PhDs. They can read and understand millions of words at once, like an entire series of novels in a single go. And as soon as they beat one test, researchers just invent harder ones, like MLU Pro, to keep pushing them even further.
And AI vision, it's gone so far beyond just identifying a cat in a photo. This image shows a model taking on what's called the visual common sense reasoning benchmark. It's not enough to just answer the question, how did person 2 get the money? The AI also has to pick the correct reasoning for why its answer is right. That's a huge leap from just seeing to actually understand.
And now all this intelligence is getting up and walking around in the real world. Humanoid robots like Figure AI's Figure 02 are actually doing complex jobs. We're talking brewing a cup of coffee, working on a car assembly line, and get this, thanks to language models built right in, they can even explain to you out loud what they're doing and why they're doing it. So yeah, this power is undeniably impressive, but it's also creating a whole new set of really urgent, really complex challenges. Because with this explosion in what AI can do comes an enormous responsibility, and we are already seeing the peril when it's misused or just plain goes wrong. And the impact on real people, well, it can be absolutely profound. The father of a murdered teenager discovered that someone had created an AI chatbot using his daughter's name and yearbook photo without anyone's consent. His word for it? Re-traumatizing. It just shows the massive ethical gaps that exist with this technology. Or take this case. Sometimes the cost of an AI getting it wrong is devastating. In the UK, a woman was wrongly flagged as a shoplifter by a facial recognition system. She was publicly accused, banned from local stores, and went through immense emotional distress. The system was wrong, but the human cost was all too real. Now, this right here is one of the most surprising and frankly troubling findings. You would think that training an AI on more data would make it better, right? Make it less biased. But a recent study found the exact opposite. As computer vision models got bigger and were fed more data, their tendency to label Black and Latino men with words like criminal or suspicious person actually went up. Scaling the power also scaled the bias that was already in the data. And these risks aren't just personal, they're playing out on a huge societal scale. During the 2024 presidential election in Mexico, this AI-generated image went viral. It looks like a Starbucks cup endorsing one of the candidates. Starbucks had to come out and publicly say, "Nope, not us." It's a perfect example of just how easily AI can be used to whip up and spread misinformation. So here's where we land. We've gone from this dream of intelligent machines to a world where they have incredible power. But here's the thing. This technology is a mirror. It just reflects the data, the values, the biases that we train it on. So as its power continues to explode, the biggest question isn't really about what AI can do. It's about what we are going to do with it. How are we going to make sure this incredible force reflects the very best of us and not our worst flaws?